special meeting of the Brandenburg City Council on September the 3rd at 5:30 p.m. to order. The one and only item on here tonight is the council is going to answer the questions from July the 8th that we took and went back and put them together. We want to thank everybody for your patience with the loss of Mr. Basham through us behind, and we really appreciate the fact that you all understood what we were trying to do. And the one thing that we will tell you right now for tonight, there is no vote on this ordinance for tonight. All we're doing tonight is answering the questions. And until we have this where we have a better feel with the citizens, the people that work in the city of Brandenburg and the council, we will continue to work on this to make it fit, whatever that fit needs to be, and we will continue to work on that. Just so you know, Rhonda Allen, Rhonda, you can wave at everybody. Rhonda was chosen and selected and sworn in after our meeting the other night to fill out Bill Basham's term of the rest of this year through the 2024 year. So tonight we wanted to go over just a few things before we get into the slideshow part of it. I guess some of the things we're trying our best to make sure that we give you accurate information. We want you to understand when we put something out for you to see. Unfortunately, some things people are getting or putting out are not truly accurate numbers, especially because of our budget. And we would be honored if you call City Hall and want to meet with us. We'd be glad to go over any of that with you. Try to see what else, but what we'll do is we'll go ahead and we'll kick this off. I guess everybody knows everybody else that's on the council. It's the same ones. Rhonda's the only new one. Just so you know, there is 5 here. We did have, because of the new job commitment, Ginger Coombs has resigned because of her job commitment, and we will move to replace her on Monday night is our goal for that at the next council meeting. I think I've covered everything pre-meeting. Our next item, as you'll see there, we're going to get tired of talking quite a bit here, but some of the issues we're going over, this is the open meetings act, and we call these special meetings, and they're always in here. These are not emergency meetings. These are special meetings by KRS that we're allowed to do. And the only thing that can be talked about in a special meeting is the agenda items. And that's why the only agenda item is about tonight are the questions that are there. And I hope you all realize that we have stayed by that every meeting. Exactly what we put down is exactly the only thing we've actually answered or talked about. And you can see the statements on there, any portion that we can answer. Feel free after the meeting to contact any of us, contact City Hall. We'd be glad to go from there. Our first group of slides we wanted to show you we're giving some comparisons of throughout the state, or actually our region, to be honest, is what we're trying to show you some of these things that have been done, and just so everybody has an understanding that we aren't trying to reinvent the wheel. We're with this information that we're trying to share, just for information purposes. You can see Pine Grove has a 2% payroll tax, approximately draws in $635,000 a year. The next one is Muldrow is 1%, and at the time we didn't have that information. They were going to get it back to us, but we have not received it. And time frame. If you see on the bottom, you can see where it says, according to the rate, 142 cities in the state of Kentucky and 71 counties in Kentucky currently have this information already in place. Next one is West Point, has a 2% payroll. Litchfield has a 1.2 payroll, approximately a $3 million income from that one. Owensboro has a 1.78% payroll tax. You can see it, huge increase there for $22 million. Radcliffe has a 2.25 payroll tax. draws down about $4.4 million. Clarkson is a 1.2 payroll, and it draws in about $160,000. Next one is Lebanon. That's a 1%. It draws approximately $3.5 million. The next one, this kept coming up in the last meeting about Elizabethtown. So that's why we wanted to be sure and put it up to show you what Elizabethtown. After this slide, we have 4 slides on Elizabethtown. They have a payroll to do what's best for the city of Brandenburg, of trying to keep it operational, and bringing up ideas is nothing new. I mean, we've done that for years of trying to bring up ideas that are a revenue stream that can help the city of Brandenburg to do more for the people. The second was, why was it not considered as how it would affect all levels of employees? I think at the 1%, it affects every person the same. And that's when we discussed that. The 1% was the figure we started with, not knowing where it's going to be, had to be lower or what it could be. But each person, that 1% affects that same person the same. And 1% to one person may be different to another person. It may not be as good for a person, but it affects the same against their money the same way. Share more information in final revision. The final revision is out. I guess one of the things of more information, actually it worked out just exactly what we're supposed to do. We bring something up for a first reading. The first reading we did, got folks to come and talk, come to a meeting, and that's where we are today. We're still continuing that dialogue to go forward, whether this is the way we want to go or if it isn't the way we want to go. So that's the whole reason. So the information, as it was gathered, has been presented. So the next one was, why weren't the council raises stopped and put together towards the budget? I'm going to answer that question in just a second, because I've got a whole section here that I want to answer that one subject about. So, questions from Neil Lyons. What about churches? Who's exempt and how do you decide? And I think we looked at that. This, when we took the business wing of this out, speak to this also, we actually did away with a lot of what was exempted. First vendor had that 1% against the business. There were a lot of exemptions. With this scenario now, they're not quite there.
Can't hear you.
A few years ago, the state legislature decided that they wanted occupational taxes across the
Still can't hear you.
A few years ago, the Kentucky State Legislature decided that they wanted occupational taxes across the Commonwealth to be uniform. So there are statutes that define who's exempt, who's not exempt, how you set the tax, what you calculate on it. So all of those are coming from Kentucky statute.
So that's yet to be determined. We'll be able to follow those guidelines to let you know on that. Questions from Phil King. How did we come up with 1%? We took the 1% as a guide. Is when you went to the first one, it was the lower end of the scale that we looked at for the 1% is where we started at. There were quite a few above it, and there are some below it, but that's why we just said 1% to start. Until we had an ordinance and knew what kind of money we're talking about, there was not a way for us to have a number to become a baseline to know what we were basing this on. That hopefully answers the second question also. The study can't really be done until we have an ordinance to be able to get the information collected. Our goal is that the 1% is the amount of money that we can raise to make that work. If we have been asked, if it came back to like one of the other cities and it was a lot higher amount than we projected, our goal, and I've talked to some different business side of this, what well, could we do a refund? And a lot of people said it's a lot better to not do the refund, maybe not tax the next year. That way you're trying to keep that in that, we know that number, that's the number we want to hinge around. There's not a single soul at this table that's looking for $1 million. Nobody on this table when we started this, in this account. Our goal is to be able to do it with the least amount of money that would affect employees in the city of Brandenburg. Michelle brought this, and we have discussed that, considered restaurant tax. And like I told you, we do have that information already collected on restaurant tax, and we have a room transient tax also for the city of Brandenburg. All right, now then, I'll address council salaries. I know this came up several times. This council, those salaries were, per KRS, we are directed to review salaries every 2 and 4 years. Those salaries are looked at by region of where that is. Not a single soul on this table is getting a raise in 2024. That money is put together, those salary bases are put together for 2025. And already, as you see, 4 of those people that made that decision will not be here for sure. It could be everybody here may not be there in 2025. We don't know that. But as a city body of the city of Brandenburg, that's the time that you have to look at. And if you look at what we have put together, the numbers that have been brought forward, we're still behind most of the cities around us. The council paid, I think this was the first time a raise in 4 years. I think I'm trying to remember these off the top of my head. This is the second time in 3 years on the mayor raise. It is on there. But when you compare the city, and we don't include E-Town, we don't include Radcliffe, we include the cities that are comparable in size to the city of Brandenburg. If we want to use those other ones, we'd be way behind, to be honest with you. So those salaries are not in effect until January of 2025. Everybody, just so that's clear that it's being out there. We took all this money. There's nobody on this table that got that money. So, and we want to talk about a couple of questions that folks had in the surrounding area about the city's construction that we just have finished. They're not even totally 100% complete on either one. Right now, the water plant, we're actually operational. What that actually was able to do, the city was able to receive a grant for $1 million to build, update our water treatment plant. You know, the treatment plant was probably 20 years old, and it had been upgraded one time. This upgrade took us from producing 1 million gallons of water a day to 2 million gallons of water a day. So we have the capacity. We're getting ready to put an extra water tower up that would be able to handle water pressures throughout the city of Brandenburg. With that upgrade, we are able to do that. The issue with that, the $1 million grant was started 6-7 years ago. Construction started 3 years ago. Able to do that, how that was done by previous administration, borrowed funds to build that upgrade. So the city of Brandenburg has been paying interest on loan towards that upgrade. And anybody with expanding, you realize our old water plant was probably at the end of its life cycle and ability to take on the growth of the city of Brandenburg. Some questions that were always asked in that, did this happen because of Nucor? We do sell water to the Nucor plant, but only for domestic purposes. When I say domestic, that's for bathrooms, kitchen areas. This has nothing to do with their manufacturing process. And in that deal, that's how we are able to sell them that water at a price outside the city limits rate. So that is not affected the city of Brandenburg. It's 30,000 gallons of water. So that's not water when you're looking at a company of that size. Our second one is sewer plant construction. And I know this has been talked about quite a bit, that the county's making these payments and people are tired of their county tax dollars paying that payment. Well, when that deal came around, the sewer plant was out of compliance. We were already on warning that something had to be done to bring that back into compliance or else. So we were able to go in and construct a brand new $9 million plant. In that construction, we went from the capacity ability of 300,000 gallons, which we were almost there, to now we can treat over 800,000 gallons of waste a day. In that process, then, that gives us the ability to, anybody that comes into our community, we have the water and we have the sewer to do that growth. The contract, we had 15 acres of 15 acres of ground where the sewer treatment plant, and it's on the west end of the new core property. So the plant size with the upgrade, where we did away with the lagoon system, we now have an aerated ditch system that is a lot smaller footprint. We were able to sell about 9 acres of ground out of that plant, and Nucor purchased that from the city of Brandenburg. And how that deal was structured and how it works today, the county was already set up with Nucor as a funding mechanism. So the Nucor Steel pays the county for $4.5 million over a 15-year period, and that money goes to the county, and the county writes a check to the city of Brandenburg for reduction of this debt. So by selling that 9 acres of ground, the city of Brandenburg immediately paid for half of this upgrade or brand new sewer treatment plant. So when you hear the county, people say that the county's making that payment, that's not a true statement. They make the payment to us, but it's not with county tax dollars. It was a pilot program that was put together, payment in lieu of tax, through Nucor and the county. The only time there was ever any money different than that is if there was a change order, that's something that may have gone outside of that $4.5 million that the county partnered with the city of Brandenburg 50-50 to get this operational for the growth of the city. And today, we still have grants that are working. We talked about the water treatment plant. We have received one payment since this was put together, but we still are waiting on about $350,000 more dollars to get the rest of that water plant paid off. So in that process, we still are able to do a lot of things for the city of Brandenburg. And I know a subject that's been brought up several times is home market. That is a great thing, and the city of Brandenburg has been very active in the home market for many years, dealing back for apartment complexes. There is several things on here with several of the subdivisions that are around right now. One of the tough things is trying to let everybody understand, and one of the examples is Miller Woods. It's on Old Eckerd Road, great new layout, great. It's got water, it's got sewer, it's got gas, it's got power, three-phase power through it. It's a great facility. It has 88 residential lots, got apartment building lots, got commercial lots. So there is a lot of growth there. But when you look at the city of Brandenburg's investment, that money is not even, it's probably an 8-year return for our investment that we put into this. Right now, that investment, until the tax roll just got certified, and I believe I'm stating this, I hope wish Steve was here so I could quote him what he was telling us on that. That is still based off the tax value of what it was when they purchased it as farm ground until it's upgraded with the sale of the homes that are there. That initial tax value is $12,300. So those funds take time to get on the cycle for the books to be able to come forward. And that's what it was valued on the Miller farm when it was just a field. And this takes time for that to get there. It will be now that the certified road has been put in, and that's where you'll start to see where that will change and increase. So not only were we able to help there with water and sewer and meters and lots, that investment was a great thing moving forward. I mean, for the city of Brandenburg. And it's been done numerous times when we talk about the different places, the station, we've helped in a lot. And the council has done that. When we talk about that, it's been their leadership that has gotten this ability to be able to put these investments, but it's not something that replaces that funds in the general fund for us to be able to do the next person that comes in and we're talking to every day. Some of the things that I think, this was one question, excuse me just a second. Some of the things were asked, and one thing I really do appreciate the people that have reached out and talked to us about this and asked questions. And you know, we can't help you, you can't help us if we don't talk to each other. Some of the general fund serves many purposes for the government. Some of the things that we try to tell you about, we're going to get to some more of this in just a minute. And our parks, our park department, everything we do of taking care of stuff, that is all in general fund. Salaries, and we're going to break down one of the things we're working on and right now on salaries in the office and in our police department and as part of our maintenance department are in that. The retirement, you're looking a salary part of that monthly. These are monthly costs. I'm going to get to the end here. Insurance on the office, police, maintenance, utilities, council, monthly approximately, planning and zoning, monthly equipment, maintenance vehicles, safety training, police operating costs, and debt service. That was one thing that the city took a few years ago, upgraded ability to work with a purchase of some equipment that was desperately needed in a mini track hoe, a skid steer, and trucks to be able to pull those around with. That monthly expenditures on it every month are $117,544. Those are just reoccurring costs every month that are going to be there no matter what. And that's probably one of the things that we're trying to figure out. Grant-wise, we're still applying. I kind of touched on a little bit. We still have about 4 to 5 more grants that we're waiting on those funds. One of those grants I know is 8 years or longer. We, unfortunately, I see Gary in here. We're hoping and praying we don't have to cut that new blacktop on Old Ekron Road. That's one of the major upgrades that we have a grant lined up for, is redoing the water line on Old Ekron Road. Hopefully it'll hold till we get that removed before we have to cut that blacktop. That'd be the worst thing to happen. So, you know, when we try to talk about those other upgrades and other funds, that's the one area that we try to collect that money, but it costs money to do business, and that's the thing about us with these funds, where the money goes. I guess one of the things that we're going to use for just one department that we're probably most working on that we've seen, and one of the issues is our police department. And I'll let the chief speak if he wants here in just a minute, but from this row of seats, we send an officer for training that goes to, we send them for training to Eastern Kentucky University. They go for 20 weeks. We furnish them to stay up there, furnish them a vehicle to go back and forth, uniforms, and we're going to go through this in just a second. The problem is we do get a signed contract with that person when we send them to school. that they have to fulfill a 5-year commitment contract to the city of Brandenburg. The problem is, when we get to the end of that 5th year, everybody's after them. I mean, we can't stay on top of the game with retention, number one, and recruiting is even harder because of the fact I can name numerous cities or one county away from us so that are offering twice what we're paying salary-wise. And then they are offered beneficial things to take cars home. We do that also. But you can see that the officer's benefits, that'll be a new salary. And the problem we're seeing right now is when we lose someone, we're having to go back to square one. We have to hire someone that has zero training to put them out. We're trying to just get them to apply is the hardest thing of all right now, is let them put that information for us. What does it take? Let us know what you need, what is that funding, and that's where we're trying to base this to see where we go. That you'll see that salary. The vehicle, that's a cost when we first put them out. That's not a, well, if we get a rotation back, we probably are trading out a car every 5 years or less. But we are normally staffed with 5 full-time officers, if I say something wrong. And right now, we're not, one that's in school, one's just now transitioning. We lost our school resource officer that went to school, worked for the school, and we are taking one of our road officers is going to take that position right now as that school resource officer. So that rotation immediately shortened us down to patrol officers on the road every day, every night. So that's the issue we're dealing with right now of overtime. Of being able to keep people, to keep the coverage we want, and we know that you all want for your business and for your homes in the city of Brandenburg. So that card, that we put that number in there really as a one-time, but it's probably an annual reoccurring for the city of Brandenburg. Their clothing allowance, that's equipment, uniforms, getting them ready to go. And we do allow that officer to take that vehicle home, because our thought in that also is, if we have to call them in, do we want them to have to travel further home to Brandenburg, into the city hall to get a car to respond to something that's going on within the city? That person being able to respond from there actually makes it to where they actually can get there a lot faster than for us. So you can see that bottom total, 140,956.73. And we broke this down just on one department. Amy's department is funded, part of that, or all of her office is funded through the general fund, and Mr. Hughes is through water, sewer, and some general fund, not just employees, but equipment for trucks, and where we have to have those things maintenance and taken care of. Now, guess anything you want to add to that?
I just want to say that, you always hear from the public that people are speeding here, or this is going on, or that's going on. With us to be able to add personnel to the police department, or having that funding available to be able to add personnel, and that's people we can have on the street to address your speeding issues, and we can be more reactive to the calls and being out into the community and taking care of those things. But when you're only working with 6 full-time personnel, one of those is assigned to the school when school's in session. That's one officer on the street at a time. So you're very limited in your resources. And with the growth of the city, basically, the past few years I've been asking for additional staff. And we have not been able to do that because of the general fund budget. So hopefully this is one thing that can support the police department to be able to help the community. And that way we can have more personnel to be able to be responsive and take care of our community.
Where do we go? Our next step for the city of Brandenburg is, our goal is, we've discussed this among the council as what's the next step. We wished it was over, wished there was a decision, but we're not ready to make a decision. we want to have more information. So we as a council are going to ask some employees and business owners in the city of Brandenburg that have their business here in town and have employees. We're going to ask a few to serve on an advisory committee for the council. They'll meet with us one-on-one, and we are going to go through what we have, what brought us to this, what alternatives we have, and what alternatives these companies or these individuals have gathered. And I always hear this consumable tax, but there's no such thing to be found in the state of Kentucky to go by. So that's our goal. Is it's going to take us a little more time. I hate the fact that we can't tell you tonight it's gone away, but we're going to look for alternatives to make it what we would hope that we could come up with, and what is going to benefit the employees, the citizens, everything in the city. And in that meeting, we have every inch of property tax, breaking them down, looking at what it could be, what if we added anything to it, would it be enough to make a difference? We don't think so. By looking at the numbers we've received that are preliminary, looking at our taxes, and that's one of the things we're touching on Monday night, is the current rates for next year. So,
I'm sorry, is this before or after
we're just, I'm sorry I couldn't hear,
this
but we're not.
advisory committee? Is this before or after this ordinance? Or is it before anyone? Yes.
The advisory committee will be before the ordinance.
And it'd probably be more than one meeting. I see this being, if we're done by January, for me, I think it would be doing the due diligence we need to do. I know that's not the answer probably half of you want to hear in here, but it's not going to be a knee-jerk reaction to anybody. It's not going to be anybody. And I know that question was from Bruce, why would you bring it up? I applaud him for bringing it up. It's got more involvement in the city of Brandenburg than we've had forever. Do I think this is bad? No. Do I like my picture behind one standing in front of a police roundup and stuff? Probably not, but there's not much can be put on David Pace that hasn't been already. So that doesn't bother me. So our goal is to make this the best it can be for the people that are building, people that are operating a business and working in the city of Brandenburg. So we said we weren't taking questions tonight from the floor. September 9th, this will not be on the agenda, other than we probably will try to name that committee membership that will be on that. So I applaud this group right here.
Sir, you gonna take questions after the meeting?
Today,
Yeah. If I come to you, can I
not
ask you
from
something?
this group, they're not. No.
From you.
So we will try to work on it and move forward from that
You
moment.
just told us to contact you if we had any questions.
You've not called me since the last meeting, but I'll listen to what you got, Neil, whatever. So our goal, and I do applaud this group. They've stayed, they've listened, they want to know what it takes to make it right. We want it to be right. Nobody's done this against anybody or to hurt the city of Brandenburg by all means.
I get that.
Nobody, I'm not talking to you, I'm talking to the people here. And our goal is to make this the best it can be for everybody here in the city of Brandenburg.
We just like to be able to ask
So
questions.
that's our whole goal with that committee. So
We're not
I entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion by Bruce, second by Mark. Discussion, all in favor, say aye. Opposed, like sign. Thank you all.